They say the biggest secrets aren't hidden in locked diaries or buried in the past. They're hidden in plain sight. In the digital footprints we leave behind, the small, everyday habits we think no one else notices. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon in late October, the kind of day where the sky outside was a permanent shade of gray and the wind rattled the window panes of my apartment. My best friend Clara had left her scarf draped over my couch the night before after we spent 4 hours arguing over which takeout to order. I was practically glued to my sofa, wrapped in a blanket, staring at my television screen. My own streaming subscription had expired the day before, and my paycheck wasn't clearing until Tuesday. So, naturally, I did what any best friend would do. I opened Clara's account. She had given me her password 3 years ago, ClaraBear99. We shared everything: pizza crusts, brutal honesty, and our streaming platforms. The screen flashed to the profile selection page. Usually, I just clicked on her main profile, the one with the little yellow smiley face icon. But today, the remote slipped in my hand, and I hit the right arrow instead. The screen shifted, revealing a second row of profiles I had never bothered to look at before. There was guest, which made sense, and then right next to it was a third profile. The profile icon was a little cartoon penguin, my absolute favorite animal since I was a kid. And beneath it, typed out in bold white letters, was a single word: Ethan. My name. I froze. Why would Clara have a profile named after me on her own account? I had never asked her to make one. For a second, I thought maybe it was just a joke, a placeholder for whenever I came over. Curiosity got the better of me. My thumb pressed the center button on the remote. I clicked on it. When the home screen loaded, I expected to see the usual algorithm-driven chaos: action movies, trending comedies, maybe a few documentaries. But what I saw made my breath catch in my throat. This wasn't just a generic profile. It was a museum, a perfectly curated digital archive of my entire personality. I scrolled down to the Continue Watching row. There was the Grand Budapest Hotel, a movie I had mentioned in passing 6 months ago, saying I loved the cinematography but never had the time to finish it. The progress bar showed it had been watched halfway through. Below that was the My List row. My heart started to beat a little faster as I read the titles. It wasn't just things I liked, it was a timeline of us. There was the obscure indie film we watched on our very first road trip to upstate New York. There was that terrible sci-fi B-movie we hate-watched when she broke up with her college boyfriend and needed a distraction. There were 3 different documentaries on vintage cars, something Clara couldn't care less about, but something I could talk about for hours. Why was she watching these? I kept scrolling, the glow of the television screen reflecting in my eyes. Then, I hit the category that made the room feel suddenly very warm and very small. Because you watched, the algorithm had generated a list of recommendations based on the profile's watch history. The titles staring back at me were all the same genre: When Harry Met Sally, Love Rosie, One Day. Every single recommendation was a movie about 2 best friends who were secretly in love with each other. I set the remote down on the coffee table. My hands were actually shaking. Clara was the most guarded person I knew. She brushed off emotions with sarcasm and deflected serious conversations with jokes. But here, in the privacy of an algorithm, hidden behind a cartoon penguin, she was telling the truth. This profile wasn't just named after me, it was for me. It was what she watched when she missed me. It was what she turned to when she wanted to feel close to me, even when we were miles apart. And suddenly, a terrifying, beautiful realization washed over me. I wasn't just her best friend. I was the person she was quietly, secretly in love with. And the craziest part? I had been secretly in love with her since the day we met.
Ethan, it's freezing out there. I brought Thai food.
Clara's voice echoed from the hallway. I jumped, my heart hammering against my ribs. I scrambled for the remote, desperate to switch back to her main profile before she walked into the living room. But I was too slow. Clara walked into the room, kicking off her boots, holding 2 brown paper bags that smelled like peanut sauce and basil. She had a wide, bright smile on her face. Then she looked at the television screen. The smile vanished. The paper bags in her hands crinkled loudly in the quiet room as her grip tightened. Her eyes darted from the screen, with its glaring row of friends to lovers romance movies, down to me, sitting frozen on the couch. "What?" she started, her voice barely a whisper. She cleared her throat, her cheeks flushing a deep crimson red. "What are you watching?" I stood up slowly. "My account expired. I logged into yours." Clara stared at the screen. She looked like she wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. "You clicked the penguin," she stated, her voice flat. "I clicked the penguin," I confirmed softly. She walked over to the kitchen counter, set the food down deliberately, and turned her back to me, gripping the edge of the counter. For a long moment, the only sound in the apartment was the wind hitting the window pane. "It's stupid," she finally said, her voice thick with emotion. She didn't turn around. "It's a stupid, embarrassing habit. You can make fun of me. It's fine." I walked across the room, closing the distance between us. I stopped just a few inches behind her. "Why would I make fun of you?" I asked quietly. Clara let out a shaky breath. "Because it's pathetic, Ethan. Whenever you travel for work or whenever you're busy, I log into that stupid profile. I watch the things you like so it feels like you're sitting on the couch with me. And I watch those ridiculous romance movies because—" She stopped, her shoulders tense. She couldn't finish the sentence. I reached out, gently placing my hands on her shoulders. I slowly turned her around so she was forced to look at me. She had tears brimming in her dark eyes, completely terrified that she had just ruined 6 years of friendship. "Because what, Clara?" I asked, my voice dropping to a whisper, my thumbs gently brushing her shoulders. She looked up at me, her defenses completely shattered. "Because in those movies, the guy always figures it out. The guy always realizes that the girl sitting right next to him is the one he's been looking for all along." A heavy, beautiful silence settled over us. I looked down at her, at this incredible, stubborn, brilliant woman who had built a digital shrine to our friendship just to feel close to me. I smiled, a genuine, overwhelming sense of relief washing over me. "Well," I murmured, leaning in closer, my forehead almost touching hers. "I guess those movies are pretty accurate after all." Her eyes widened slightly, her breath catching. "Ethan, I've been looking at you for 6 years, Clara," I confessed, my voice raw with honesty. "I just didn't think I was allowed to tell you. I didn't think I had a chance." She let out a tearful, breathless laugh. "You idiot, you always had a chance." When I kissed her, it felt like the missing piece of a puzzle finally snapping perfectly into place. It tasted like tears and relief and the end of years of pretending. The apartment was still chilly, the wind was still howling outside, and our Thai food was definitely getting cold on the counter. But right there, standing in the middle of my kitchen, I had never felt warmer. Sometimes the people who love us leave a trail of breadcrumbs, hoping that one day we'll finally be brave enough to follow them. Thank you for listening and spending this time with us on the Velvet Porch Stories. If this story brought a smile to your face or reminded you of a hidden truth in your own life, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join our cozy community. Tell me in the comments below, have you ever discovered a secret that completely changed the way you looked at someone? Until next time, keep your stories warm and your loved ones closer. Take care.